Your soulmate, your sweetheart, your desired partner might have one or more people in their life where you think, phew, is this ever going to end? Maybe they're still in a relationship or they've started a relationship with someone else. It could also be family, it could be friends. This is about another person or people who keep interfering, who have simply inserted themselves in between. And you ask yourself, is this finally going to end at some point? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel here? Or, okay, should I maybe just take a completely different direction for good? And this question is on your mind, and that's the question we're going to address today. Dear ones, a very, very warm hello and a wonderfully loving hug to all of you. Thank you for the wonderfully loving community you give me, for the togetherness you share. And thank you for being here. Your comments, your warmth, it is so wonderful and means so, so much to me. Thank you for that. You know, my dears, we are all part of the collective. Court cards are gender neutral. That means your counterpart can be male or female. All court cards are both male and female. Please always adapt it for yourselves and your own situation. And collective readings can't apply to everyone. But I know you take what resonates with your situation and adapt it for yourselves. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. So now let's take a look. Will the relationship with the other person end? By the way, I got this question from the collective again. And as you know, you are always welcome to submit questions to the collective. Okay, this is already starting off interesting. We have the Knight of Swords, Knight of Swords. There's definitely an uncomfortable process of clarification here. So there's also a cold spell here, definitely a frosty atmosphere. Maybe your special someone has been a bit impulsive towards you lately, and maybe it's also about a separation between the two of you. This arrogance as well. But it's like you say, wow, you're not even, or even now, if you're in contact, you can't really reach him anymore. There's nothing left. Something's not right there. And that's what's on your mind. That's coming through very clearly here. So, as I said, there's a bit of a frosty atmosphere here too. So, a process of clarification. There's definitely something very, very unpleasant going on here. We'll take a closer look at what exactly this unpleasantness is, what explanation there is, what's really going on. So then we have, I have to be completely and utterly honest with you. When the major arcana cards appear, it always carries a profound and significant amount of importance because it inherently brings a very powerful and truly important energy with it. And when we clearly see here that the Emperor card is being prominently shown, that's also absolutely fantastic and wonderfully auspicious in this particular combination. So fantastic, yes, in the sense of what's happening here, this process of clarification. And we're still on the question regarding a separation. With your Emperor, it's also the case that there's this unrestrained aspect that's being shown. And there's something going on inside your loved one, something happening within them. This has to do with the realization of a dream, but he's still covering it up, hiding the whole thing. And there is something happening with him right now. A process of clarification, structure. Because as I said, he has somehow lost control as well. There's no control. Something here is no longer under control. Something he or she can't control anymore. Something that's completely gotten out of hand. And great, because we have the death card. And death also says, this is where goodbyes are being said. The end of a phase, the conclusion of a phase, saying goodbye to the old. Here, a transition can be seen, a transformation. With the person close to your heart, you can also still see this rigidity. There is a loss. What exactly it is, we can see here. We are going completely in depth here into the details, but we are definitely in the midst of a transformation, a transition. All right. Is the relationship coming to an end? That is very interesting. What is already showing up here? Okay. So now I would like some clarification on that. All right. So with your loved one, it's clear to see that there is a lot of confusion here. This confusion tangled up in the situation. He himself doesn't even know how or what anymore. And what we saw earlier, this stability is also lost. This, since this control is gone, we can see that very clearly again because I have this confusion, this insecurity, this nervousness, reactions. I think it's fantastic what I said earlier because you're also right there with it. But on a positive note, I want to say right away, with him or her, this nervousness, it's not his energy. What I said right at the beginning that maybe you feel something's off. He's somehow different. Somehow this you might not even recognize him anymore, which also makes you wonder what's going on. Something just isn't right anymore. Here I can tell you definitely yes, we have foreign energies here. We have the influence of energies from one or more other people. I'm working with the collective here, so I have to approach it a bit differently. It's different in personal readings there. I'm completely immersed in that person's energy, right? But you already know that I see activities with the person close to your heart. Nothing is working out here anymore. No matter what it is, it's like everything he tries just goes wrong. I see him restless, nervous. Um, things might be breaking down, or things that always used to work out for him, that luck he always had, where things just worked. I see that here as a complete loss. It's an absolute burden, a torment. And there's someone close to his heart in this area, and he's already thinking about it. It's on his mind because something just isn't right here. He himself also feels this heaviness, mishaps. Nothing works anymore, nothing functions. It's like he's operating on autopilot. I see the person close to his heart here like a puppet on strings, and he's in the process of deciding to finally bring closure to the old. Ending and closing off the old is the theme here. You know what I said earlier? Character cards are gender neutral, as we also have here. We have the other person, both male and female, and there it's complete disappointment. This person, as I'm saying, has here deliberately because it's already been a while. So what I see here is a separation process, but there's still something there, this constant pressure, this pressure that also puts your loved one under stress. It could really be a relationship here, but it could also be family or friendship related. And for a long time, even if we're talking about family or the circle of friends and family, it's been like this for quite a while. And it was always like this person would say, I'm disappointed in you, and, you know, things like that. And that would always trigger feelings of guilt in him or her. This, oh my God, especially if we're talking about the family context here. And I've sensed this attachment for a long time. And that's also what stood between you two. You are still a very important part of your loved one's life, completely in their heart. Even if he may have pushed it aside for a long time, didn't show it to you, but you were never really gone, there's still something there. And this person is being shown completely, meaning the outside influence is being shown here as something that really isn't good for him. In his heaviness, there's nothing, even the small things I might have been able to resolve problems or whatever he managed to get a handle on. Now, nothing works anymore. It's like whoosh, a wall. He always runs into this blockade himself, even in his thinking. These I always like to say, I have these mental blocks here. And you were always solution oriented in your connection, whether you were in a relationship or just getting to know each other. And you always gave it your all. You were there. You showed your special someone this lightness, this warmth, this togetherness. And that's what he now realizes is missing. This other person, as I said, whether it's a relationship, friendship, or family, is the area where he says, wow, I can't do this anymore. He feels that he's completely caught up in his thoughts about the decision. And the decision is definitely that the whole thing will be ended. He just can't go on here. He just doesn't know exactly how to do it yet. So I'm also saying separation in no matter how or what, right? The separation could mean that the person decides to leave your loved one, breaks up, or that he leaves her because he feels and knows it just doesn't work anymore. And I also sense a little bit here, as if he's kind of provoking things right now. Because that's his issue, wants to come out looking good, like, wow, I really gave it my all here, right? I'm innocent here, whatever the case may be. It could also be something work related, that there are some influences affecting your loved one, or it could even be a hobby. But simply in his external world, I see that he feels he's done everything, but he's provoking things. So he's really pushing for it here so that the other person, I'm deliberately calling them the other person now, this could be a relationship, a friendship, or family, right? So that the other person simply says, wow, no. Ends the whole thing. And I have to say, in this area, he's really a bit of a sly one because he manages to make himself look good and play the innocent a little. Because with him, I've noticed this issue, even if he puts on a front for others, with you, he might always apologize. Maybe he always showed his self-confidence and acted like, yeah, no, I've got everything under control and it's all fine, but you could tell there was still something simmering underneath. Maybe it wasn't really true at all. There was always something there. Yeah, and that was really the case. Outwardly, he showed something different, still shows something different than what's actually going on inside him. He still does that now. And that's especially true when it comes to his feelings for you. We're really talking about love here, where the whole time you two had your connection, he was always uncertain and maybe kept what he truly felt a secret because he couldn't really make sense of it himself. He didn't really know it himself either. He was afraid of it. That always had to do with his environment, especially if we're talking about the family context here. The other person, whether he's in a relationship with her now or she just came in as a rebound, that things ended between you and shortly after this other person appeared, someone you might not even officially know about. And I really have to say it's wrong. It's a learning process, a really intense learning process, because here we're really dealing with, I'd say very extreme. Let me actually use the word extreme situations, discussions, confrontations, and even real losses in the financial area. And above all, how he is himself, because here I see him completely as if he's being controlled remotely, like a puppet. Restlessness, nervousness, that's not him. This whole thing, not being able to make decisions, maybe that was always there a little bit, but he used to have more balance, but that was also because of you. And now he's starting to feel that something is seriously going wrong here, especially, and I also find this remarkable that he misses you. Your personality, your way, your warmth. That's what he never really wanted to see or allow himself to feel all this time. To answer the question again, will the relationship end? I can tell you here a definite yes. He's toying with he knows the breakup has to happen. He has to detach himself from what was. Again, this fits perfectly with the death card. We have it here once again. It's an absolute burden for your loved one, but he's trying to sneak out of it a bit and is provoking the other person or people, So he's not really approachable anymore, not really willing to talk things through, right? Which used to be different before. Now we see a complete change. He's practically provoking it so that a break is made here, right? So things are really getting serious here. These are real, intense confrontations, and the separation, the farewell, will be very abrupt here, very sudden, unexpected. What does unexpected mean? He expects it, yes, but it's like out of nowhere, bam, It could be a message simply that it happens over the phone, a phone call, a conversation, or that it's a WhatsApp. So a message through some messenger app. Of course, it could also be in person. But in this case, I get more the sense that your special someone would rather avoid the whole thing in person and would actually prefer if it all just happened over the phone, if it all just took place that way. When it comes to your special someone, there are these feelings of happiness towards you, and there really is something there. And I see that during the nighttime hours, your special someone really gets back into that feeling. Something is happening, something is opening up. And in his heart, there is this openness again, so that the access, that the connection is coming back, which was completely closed off before. you know, and he knows he let himself be deceived, he let himself be played with, and that went on for quite a while, whether it was family or friends. It could also be that this is just a temporary thing, but this person who intervened here was actually very important. This person represents a very significant learning process for your loved one, helping him to break free from these behavioral patterns, from the old habits, because the contact with you happened for a specific reason. So that you could meet or encounter each other again. And that's the path your loved one is on. Now bringing closure to everything from his situation, especially moving from being stuck in his head back into leading from the heart, returning to that heart level. I see him here as being completely in his head, always overthinking, always logical, and especially always concerned about how he is perceived by others, avoiding problems by leaving or through arguments. Well, that's what he's doing here too. But as I said, he has a strategy that he uses. Okay, it's his strategy, when it comes to the other person, but that's completely fine. Here, the question is whether this whole thing will come to an end. The separation is definitely there. And as I said, it's amazing the connection to you, this warmth of heart, and what you gave, your voice, your warmth, your laughter. And you don't make a mountain out of a molehill. You have problemser. You have solutions for them, actually for every problem. And you turn a problem into a little problem. If something happens and, for example, it doesn't work out, the other person here is like, no, it has to be this way and I want it, and back and forth, like that you just can't please this other person. Your loved one really can't do anything right. He or she is completely bending over backwards, has been bending over backwards the whole time. But with you, it's different. And that's what he notices. If something doesn't work out, you just say, no problem at all. We'll just do it differently, or let's do it on another day, So it's really not a big deal. And because even if that doesn't work out, you still make the best of it. He feels that now, and he's coming to this realization, to this feeling now. And now he's aware of it on a conscious level, even if not completely. But we're really on a fantastic path and a level of consciousness, realizing how wonderful you are, how much you mean to him, and what an amazing enrichment you are to his life. So what do we have here? Once again, the major arcana. I think it's fantastic. We have some really powerful cards here, the major arcana. We have the moon and we also have the sun. With the moon, it's what he's suppressing here, what he's been suppressing all this time. Those are his true feelings. Above all, it's about completely standing up to it, not letting everything just happen to him. And his fears are also being revealed there. Fears that he's doing something wrong, that others see him in the wrong way. Well, we still have that area here, that he wants to look good, that, as I said, it challenges him, provokes his tactics. It really provokes him, that the separation here, that he's being left. That's this provocation because he simply needs it, That's still a bit of an issue from his old self, that's still coming up here. And but there's really also this clarity. He already has that clarity. So if anything, he's getting more and more into it because the beginning, the start is already there. The process of separation is already fully underway. And now we have the sun as well. Wonderful. For him, this yes, we can now see the sun symbolically as this enlightenment, which is also being shown here, that really it has all been wrong the whole time. Above all, that he hasn't even seen himself again. He was like in a haze, in a fog, just wandering around the whole time, not seeing anything anymore, and just letting himself be led around like a puppet over and over again, just as the other person or people wanted. But with your soulmate, what I find so beautiful is that he's now coming into complete confidence in what he truly wants, what his heart desires, and what he no longer wants. And here in this reading, you are absolutely the sun for him in so many ways, this warmth. What I mentioned earlier is showing up here again. And now he's starting to feel it, to allow it, even though he hasn't allowed it all this time. And while this confusion is still present here, he is simply tired and drained from what, in fact, he has allowed to happen to himself, this realization. But here he manages to break free, to end it all, because he wants to move away from the dark side and now fully steps into the sunny side. He has chosen this path. This is his journey, and you are completely in this area of the sunny side. Dear ones, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for watching and wish you a wonderfully beautiful day. Goodbye.